If your husband or partner has left you just recently, not only are you going through a huge amount of heartbreak, but you're going to go through these natural ups and downs and emotions. And part of that is going to be you having that question in your mind. Will he regret losing me? Will he regret the times that we've had together? And this is a question I get all the time from my clients, asking that question and wondering what the actual answer is. Well, in today's video, I'm going to explain all of that. And make sure you understand all of these points, because it's really important for you to have clarity on all these points in order to be able to move forward and try and either get him back or be able to move forward in the best possible way. Now, before we answer this question whether he regrets losing you or not, what we have to understand is your husband a good man? And so to me, you've got these distinct categories of men who you want to be really mindful of. You know, the first category of men is someone who has got really, really good morals and good values and good standards, and they apply it right across the board in their life. It's not just in certain areas, there's integrity right across the board. Then you've got another group of men who are in a position where they may not be acting in ways that you agree with, but fundamentally they mean well, but they're just going through some really, really difficult times in their life. You know, they're really challenged with maybe work, or they're struggling with the pressures at home or in other areas of their life, or maybe they're holding on to these deep-rooted wounds of feeling inadequate or not good enough, or just feeling like they haven't achieved that level of success that they're looking for. You know, these are good people, but they're just going through some tough times. And then you get your other group of men who are just not very nice people at all, that from basically day one, they've been treating you pretty poorly. They may have used some manipulation strategies early on to potentially lure you in. And then from then on, it's just been constant betrayal after betrayal, or they talk to you in a really, really horrible and rude way, and so on. There's a lot of those behaviors that go on as well. So we need to sort of understand what sort of category does your man fit into in particular. Now, I want to be clear here that naturally there are nuances to all of this, and there are different factors involved. So I don't want to just sit here and say that this is just how all men are in terms of bundling them up into three categories. But in my experience with working with hundreds of women from all over the world, this is what I've seen. And I'm really wanting to make sure that you understand these dynamics and these behaviors so that you can actually make the best decision for you. So then we move into the question of, do men regret losing a good woman? And the short of it is, yes, they do. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you, on the assumption that men do regret losing a good woman, there are a few factors that we need to take into consideration, reasons why they may go down that particular path. Now, the first reason why they may regret losing you is the emotional impact of loss. See, I've always said that when something is taken away from us, there's so much more pain than if there is the possibility of something to be gained. So let's say you guys have been having some tough times in your marriage or relationship, and it hasn't been kind of working well in the way that you wanted it to be. Well, he might go and think, well, if I go somewhere else, or if I just go get some space, then that's going to be a wonderful thing. I'm going to be able to really reconnect with myself. I'm going to be able to focus on me and focus on my priorities and so on, and not get caught up in all of the pain that's been going on for a number of years. Problem is, though, is that when they go off and they do that and they go end up being alone, or going and moving into another flat, etc., there's a good chance that they're going to feel that loss. They're going to feel those things that are missing. And that could be simple things. It could just be, well, we used to drive together to work. I miss that. It could just be certain TV shows you might have been watching together. I miss that. There might be other sort of behaviors or things that you guys used to do that they might miss. It might just be the fact of being alone, that they miss the companionship. So there's a lot of these things that play a part in this. So emotional impact of loss is a huge reason why he might regret losing you. Secondly, the reflection on relationships. When anyone separates from their partner, it often presents an opportunity to be able to reflect on things. And there are times that they might reflect on that relationship as a whole and think, geez, that was pretty tough. That was really, really difficult to go through. But it also presents an opportunity for them to actually look at themselves internally and think, I could have done some things better. And it might even take a separation or breakup to then force them to look inwardly and think, geez, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. I noticed that I probably didn't speak to her in a way that was the nicest possible way, because when we're in the heat of the battle, if you like, we don't know what we're actually doing, because often we're in what we call a hallucination. Now, I don't mean that you're not aware of anything. It just means that you're so caught up in your own pain that we react in ways that we may not necessarily be proud of, or we may not react in ways that are authentic to who we truly are. We're reacting from our pain. But when we get that space and we actually take that time to just kind of relax and just calm down a little bit, and let the emotions settle, let the dust settle a little bit, you start to look back and go, geez, I didn't handle things very well at this point, and I didn't really handle these things at this point, and so on. And you start to explore things within yourself. I know that in previous relationships, even for me. Not that it's forced me to wish that I was with them at all, not at all, because I'm so happily married with my wife, but it's more that it forced me to look inwardly and think I could have done some of these things a little bit better. And so that's what it can often do, is a little bit of time away can result in a reflection on the relationship and force you to ask questions of yourself. 3, sometimes there can be some family expectations as well. See, when we grow up, we might see the relationships that our parents have, or various other people who have acted as role models, and we might see the love and the beautiful experiences that they had, and you think, oh, I'd really like that. And then you grow up and you end up having a relationship, and then it doesn't work out. And sometimes your parents or siblings, etc., might be like, well, what are you doing? Are you sure you want to leave that person? Are you sure? I thought that was so lovely. Often there's a connection with your partner in terms of their connection with the family, and so that can then lead to them feeling like, oh yeah, we actually had some lovely times together, and so on. And that can often create a little bit of regret for some men. So that can play a part in men deciding that they have a regret of losing a good woman. 4thly, a realization of values. Once again, when we separate, sometimes it can present us with the opportunity to look at the things that matter most in our lives. When you're with someone, you often take things for granted. You forget about what's most important in life. You forget about, the fact that just connecting and being with each other is such a special thing. But because it almost feels like something that's just there, we think, okay, well, it's just there. Well, now I need to put my energy elsewhere. I need to put my energy into my work. I need to put my energy into sports or whatever it is. And we forget about what's actually most important in our lives. And that's something to be really, really mindful of. So then he might go away and look at things and realize, okay, I've made all this money, I've done all these things in my life, but I'm pretty miserable. I miss those times with you. I miss the times of just connecting, because those were the things that were most important. People mature and grow over time, and it often requires these painful experiences in order to force them to reevaluate aspects of themselves and reevaluate their values and their morals and their beliefs and things that are most important to them in life. And so you might look back and go, geez, I really let that one slip. And he might come back and want to spend more time with you and potentially rekindle that spark with you. But one thing I really want to be clear on, just with this whole point of whether men regret losing a good woman, I want you to remember to not utilize any manipulation tactics or, try and back off or anything like that, just to try and prove a point and to get him to come to you. See, I believe in intention, and intention is everything. And so with anything that we do, we want to make sure that our intention is coming from a place of love. You can back off with the intention of love. It can come from a place of saying, you know what, at the moment, it's unhealthy for me to keep pushing and pushing and pushing for him. So I'm actually going to back off because I want to elevate my worth and I want to elevate my value as a person. And that's coming from love. But if it's, well, you know what, I'm actually going to back off a little bit and I'm going to see if I can lure him back in. That is with the wrong intent, and it'll ensure that you won't create a sustainable relationship over a long period of time, because it's built on wobbly foundations, and we've got to get those foundations strong. But going back to the point around realization of values, once again, a separation or a divorce can often create a moment where men can look back and think, geez, I really could have done something a little bit better in this one, and I want to actually give this a chance. And finally, if you do have kids with them, that can often be a bit of a catalyst for a man to realize, look, I've made a really, really poor decision. Now, I'm not saying that kids, that their fate is sealed if there's a separation or divorce, because it's far from it. But there is definitely more of an impact on children when there is a separation or divorce more than if they were together and actually happily married. I think we can all agree on that. And so based on that, when there is often a separation, even with some of my male clients, I've often had the conversation with them after they've wanted to go down the path of a separation and said to them, do you realize the impact here? And it's not just the feelings of like my kids are going to miss me and so on, but let's say there's some infidelity involved. Let's say there's, other kinds of behaviors that are, less than ideal. Then the kids in time will eventually find out, and that will change their perception of their father. And this also applies to mothers as well, if this sort of thing has happened. But generally speaking, it will change their perception of their father. Going from, I see him as this hero, to, geez, I see him as human. And that can sometimes shift the perspective of the kids. And the thought of that can be so, so painful. Now, does that mean that if he thinks about the kids and thinks about the impact on them, that he should just go back to his partner, and even if the marriage or the relationship is no good, just to kind of tolerate it for the kids? No, I don't necessarily believe in that, because I think equally a negative role model in terms of a relationship that's not functioning well can also have an impact on the kids. So we do need to be mindful of that as well. But this separation or divorce and the potential impact on the kids can also lead a man to get to a place where they think, what was I doing? I really shouldn't have done that. I feel so guilty about the impact that it's going to have on my family, on my kids. I really want to make this work. I really want to put the effort in, and I really want to try and take this to a different level so that we can actually create something that's going to be sustainable for the future. So I hope all these points make sense. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you post them in the comment section below, and I'll make sure I respond to every single one of you. And if you've liked this video, make sure you hit that like button below. If you want to get more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. And also, if you're in a place where you're really struggling emotionally and you're feeling a huge sense of loss, like your whole world is just turned upside down and you're not sure what to do next, and what I'd recommend you do is watch this video below, and it'll just walk you through a few steps that you can do right now to start creating shifts internally. As you shift internally, that will then allow things to shift externally for you. So thank you so much. God bless, and I'll talk to you in the next video.